Thank you for joining the Author Spotlight Show. My name is Gail Watson, founder and CEO of Women Speakers Association and WSA Publishing, a place that is dedicated to sharing and promoting the gifted messages of women in over 120 countries. When we open our hearts to the world and lead with empathy, we are unstoppable. And today we shine the spotlight on a very inspiring woman who is transforming the lives of those around her through loving dedication and compassion. Today I have the proud honor of introducing to you two-time best-selling author Nathalie Lilavois, co-author of Voices of the 21st Century: Conscious Caring Women Who Make a Difference. Please welcome Nathalie.
Hi, Gail. Thank you so much for that warm introduction. I appreciate it. I'm so excited to be here with Women Speakers Association to talk a little bit about myself as an author and also about the book that's coming out shortly.
And we are very excited to have you too, because, first of all, I love what you do. You work with families who are coming into a new country and help them out. But I really would love to, before we get into what you do, I would really love to find out what's behind the story and what inspired you to share your story at this time.
Sure. The title of my chapter is Growing Up Loved, and I think for me, it's a very personal story about growing up as a child of immigrant parents. They came from Haiti, and they had endured many challenges. And they came in the '60s, which was a troubling time in their country as well. So to go from one place with challenges, many challenges, to another place that just presented new challenges for them, and trying to establish themselves and create a positive environment for myself and my sisters, and to really build a strong family culture at that time, which was difficult, and it had a lot of obstacles for them to overcome. And I think it's a good time to share that story of family and parents and what they try to build for their children, because building legacy is something that I find has become part of what I do.
I love that. And I too am a child from an immigrant family and learned some different ways of how you integrate into a new country. And uh, what really stands out to me in what you're saying is really this is the power of love, the power of unity, and how that that unity of a single family can create such grounded strength. As people are reading your story, what is it that you really want them to take away from your story?
I think that sometimes there's a very powerful concept that some of the groups that I belong to, and one group in particular, the Malik Melody Sisterhood Incorporated, has become very meaningful for me, and it's the concept of Sankofa, and it's going back, looking back at your history to bring forth with you into the future what's been good. Um, it talks about the idea of being able to look back, and sometimes we always are moving forward. We're moving at such a rapid pace all the time that we don't realize some of the things that matter to us and where they might have come from. And I think family is something that everyone can go back and look at and at least see, examine, what about that history is what I stand on today. What is it that has made me who I am today, and how do I take that into the future, to whether good, bad, or indifferent, take that into the future and make it better, either for my own children or for those that come after me. So I think that's the power of that idea of looking back, reflecting, understanding, and finding different nuances as you do that. You may have thought things were a certain way when you were a child, and then as you grow up, you're like, oh, I understand that now. I didn't understand why that was the way things were. And then now, as an adult, or even as a parent yourself, you understand all of the complexities that come with that role. So I
Hmm.
think those are the kinds of things that people can walk away with, the idea of going back and being able to be okay with some of those things by understanding them in today's moment. And maybe if you still don't understand it, you may have to go forward and come back again and take a look at how you've done things. And perhaps what you're doing is a reflection of what you've either been through or what you've grown through. and then how do you use that to inform your future?
I love that because a lot of kids, when they're coming as students or small children, that they can sometimes grow up feeling less worthy, less
Sure.
deserving. They don't have all the haves. The
Right.
environment can be that haves and haves nots within a school system. So I know that you're working with in the education system, with families, with students. Tell me more about what you're doing and really helping to build that bridge for families.
Sure. It's really a passion of mine because I've been in education for over 34 years. I recently retired from my job as director of elementary curriculum, which I absolutely loved. Um, and my new focus has been to try to empower families, particularly of underrepresented, underserved communities, to understand and negotiate that system better. I think there are a lot of things that are part of our society and part of systems that we're not privy to. And having grown up as a child of immigrants, I saw that firsthand. For example, I was dropped into a public school in the middle of Queens, not speaking any English, right? So it's sort of like you just drop this little, 5-year-old into this classroom with all these strangers. You don't understand the language, you don't know what's going on, you don't know that system at all. And having grown through that process, and I'm sure many of us have similar stories, no matter where you came from, it seems foreign. It's like being an alien in a place where everybody else understands what's going on. And so I think schools might feel that way still to many students, whether they speak the language, perhaps. So I think some of those things about how schools work, what is the format, going through workshops and things like that. There are things that are built into the system that are supposed to be good for kids, but if you're not meeting them where they are and with what they need, they may not even understand why they're being held accountable for certain structures that just don't make sense to them in their eyes. So I think looking at it from a student perspective and what's missing for me as a student, and that could be different for different students, but there tends to be a lack of cultural relevance for many students. It's like, why do I have to know this? Is a very, very, very common question, regardless of what culture students come from. So yeah, well, why do you have to know that, and how does it serve you in your future? We business coaches ask you all the time, you know, are you choosing to be in places and to expend your energy in ways that inform and support you as whatever your purpose and mission are? And so why aren't we doing that for our students? Why aren't we asking them, or at least with a mindset of, is this going to help you grow as a person, and become a lifelong learner, as opposed to just giving you content and making you regurgitate that content to move through a system that may not be serving you in the best possible way that it could. So with Zahara Crown Incorporated, as an educational consulting company, I want to do something a little bit different. I want to work with students or families or organizations, districts, schools. Um, right now, I mentor assistant principals, and to really understand the culture of a school and how do you serve the population that's there, whether that be the students may need something, the teachers may need something different, the system itself may have to look at some of its practices and examine those with a critical lens towards diversity, equity, and inclusion, towards making it a safe space for students and for teachers, towards how is it administered, how is it evaluated, and how do all those things fit in to make it a great place to be for everyone involved. So
Mm,
that's what
I
we want to look at.
I love that. And you're talking about where how to make it a great place to be for everyone. And I imagine with that creating that great place to be, we're giving that student security, safety, and confidence. You're doing
Yes.
very good work. Very, very good work.
Thank you.
Okay, Natalie. Wow. You've got a powerful story. You've got a really powerful mission and passion, as you say, where
Yes.
um, a very and it's definitely life changing for the individuals you touch. So I'm thinking if you're listening to Natalie share her story right now, you need to get a copy of her book. Not only a copy of her book, I'm thinking that our schools, our instructors out there have faced some very challenging times recently where
Yes.
they've had to go online and try and serve and teach our futures, our little futures. So I'm thinking this might be a really great gift to give to a teacher, just to let
Um,
them know.
Yeah, I don't know that the story specifically talks to that, but it does give people a perspective, right? You can go back and look at your history and see how it informs your practice. And we could do that in a number of ways. It could be your family, it could be looking at what has been your journey in education. Where did you go to school? What did you learn there? What were you able to apply and not apply? What worked and didn't work? And constantly doing that growing learning work, I think, is at the core of all of this for us as teachers, because parents clearly are their child's first teacher, right? So what's going on in your home that helps your child grow on a regular basis, right? If you can answer that question confidently, positively, that at least you're trying, then you're moving in the right direction, and your child will know that it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be with a thousand other theoretical frameworks, and I've read all these books, and it doesn't work that way. No family works that way. You need to grow by a little bit of knowledge and a lot of experience, and what works for you won't work for the next person. So unfortunately, we then take all of these unique, wonderful experiences, drop them in a school, and expect them to work under one system. um, and that happens when you go to work. It happens over and over again throughout your lifetime. But school is the one place that we can actually change that if we want to, because it's such it's a construct, right? We've created schools to look a certain way, and we can make them look a different way. Um, as we've seen, we've gone from in school in front of a teacher to online in front of a teacher, or using video or using other things, and we're moving in a technological direction that's so different and foreign to many people. So that's another challenge. So what I want to be able to do is look at all of that and decide, for that school system, or for that family, that school, that child, what's the best way to navigate all of that, all of this information, the overflow, the social media pieces. What's the best way for students of color in particular to navigate all of that and still come out with some confidence, some commitment, some understanding of how to find their purpose, and moving forward into arenas such as technology or STEM, or areas that may not have looked available to them in the past. So just, I know it sounds really big and lofty, but I think it's in small doses. Like, you make the small changes you can and hope the bigger changes will come. Um, but I think it's doable. I think with the right folks committed to it, whether it be a parent or a PTA or a student or an administrator that says, yeah, I want to make school culturally relevant for my kids. I want to be responsibly cultural about what does and doesn't happen in my building, or a teacher that says that for her classroom. Those are big gains right there, because those kids won't forget that. They'll grow up to be different people, and they'll be able to do bigger and better things, through the confidence that's been provided to them by somebody that believed in them. It really is all about believing in the infinite possibilities for every student. And I think that's a super important place, for kids to grow. School can be that place.
Wonderful. You are just a wealth of information. We need to get a copy of your book. Where can we get
Oh
a
yes,
copy
you
of your
did say
book?
that. It will be on my website, which is zaharacrown.com, along with the two other books that I was in, recently. Love Letters to My Girls, which is a really heartwarming book. I loved participating in that anthology. Over 100 women participated, and they wrote letters to motivate, inspire, and empower through words. I call it like mini affirmations. You can read each chapter. You can read one a day until you get to the end, and you'll have all these different affirmations from different women who wanted to share something uplifting with other women and girls. So that's a great book as well. The other book that you'll also find on the website is Sisters Inspiring Sisters. So I participated in that, and that has three sections: finance, leadership, and faith. And so I have a chapter in that book about leadership, and of course, voices of the 21st century, growing up loved. So there is some sort of a theme flowing through there that I'm going to end up putting together and creating a book out of eventually. So definitely that motivation, that confidence, it's something you build and grow. You can't continually ignore or even stifle voices and expect kids to grow confidence anyway. Some of them will. They'll find it from someone. If it's not you, they'll find it from someone else. But you need that network. And I think Women's Speakers Association is a network I'm part of, that I love. The group of ladies that wrote the love letters, that's another network that I can rely on. So all along, from that very first understanding of family as a network of support, I think I've gravitated to groups that do the same thing for me. And then I want to help other students, families, teachers look to each other for that support, because that's really powerful.
I love that you're taking your voice, sharing it one message at a time. I love those titles. Whether you're a voice of the 21st century, you're sending love letters. Um, it's just a really beautiful piece, and you have your words, your mission definitely makes a difference in people's lives. So please leave us with your final words of wisdom, Natalie.
So I've shared three words before. My thoughts are can be put together this way. So we want to talk about commitment, confidence, and consistency, right? So commitment to me was the commitment that my parents made, no matter what, to make sure that we had a great education, we were supported at home. I don't know what went on between, finances and things like that, but there was always food. You know, I don't know if we were poor. I couldn't tell you if we were poor. We had a house. I went to a private school. I don't think so, but there may have been financial struggles, but we were never privy to that. And there's a beautiful song I shared with someone. From this group called Sweet Honey in the Rock, and they are an a cappella group. And there's more than one song. There's the one that I shared was called There Were No Mirrors. And so the story is about a young girl, and she said there were no mirrors in my father's house, or my mother's house, I think. And the idea is that the negative things were not reflected back at her. She never saw them as a child because she was so well loved and well taken care of. And I love that song because I feel that that's the way I grew up. So I don't know what else might have been going on as a child. I might have been able to tell you, oh yeah, the car broke down, and so we did something else, but I wouldn't have known if that was a big issue in the family. So that's one thing. Definitely, the commitment was there, to make us have the best possible situation that we could. Confidence, building a child's confidence, is not just about challenging them every time they do something well. Although Caribbean parents are like, where's that extra point? You didn't get 100. Um, that does push you in a certain way, but also the confidence to be successful is also about hearing that from your family and being able to be recognized and say, oh my gosh, she did this. And it's not just your immediate family. Sometimes your extended family is watching, and you'll get like a Facebook post that's like, oh, we're so excited for you about this book, let's say. And you're like, wow, my family is still watching, and they're still giving me that, the applause behind the scenes kind of thing, which kind of helps because you never know. Sometimes even as an adult, you still are unsure. And it's nice to have those little, pats on the back, and that little, just a little recognition from somewhere. And when it comes from family, it even means more. And the third word I would say is consistency. If you have a business, if you're doing something, it has to be consistent. It has to be tied to your purpose. And you don't do the things that don't serve you. So whatever your purpose is, whatever you say your mission is, you tie everything back to that, and that's how you address your values. And you can't go wrong if you have a set of values, a mission, a goal, and you stick with that, and that's what you always do. People will come to know you as that person that has integrity, that can be counted on, and that is consistent. So that's the kind of work that I'd like to share with everyone. And just I think back a little bit to the fact of passion and perseverance, right, are kind of the threads that I talked about. And if we go and look at somebody like Angela Duckworth, she talked about grit, and I think my parents, more than me, are that definition of grit. That passion and perseverance. They had a very clear goal for what they wanted their family life to be like, and they worked at it. My mom's no longer with us, but my dad is, and I want to think that he's very proud at what he's been able to accomplish for us, and watching his daughters do such amazing things, being part of the military. I was an educator. My sister's a health professional. My other sister's in social work. So we all do helping and healing work, which is kind of an interesting, we all made those choices as well, that's what we want to do for other people. So I think, those would be the three words of wisdom that I would leave everyone with. Focus on commitment, confidence, and consistency.
You're amazing. And your
Thank
parents
you.
did do a phenomenal job and with their clear goals and their passion and perseverance. And you know what? It does shine through in you. So I want to thank you for being here today. I
Thank
want to
you.
thank our audience for watching, and we look again to connecting with you again on another author spotlight show. Thank you.
Thank you.